Welcome to another episode of The CEO's Wingwoman. Today, we are diving into another growth mindset topic, and that is the 7 traits of a magnetic leader that's destined to achieve cult-like status. So, the first thing I wanted to unpack is, what is a magnetic leader? So, in my opinion, a magnetic leader is someone in a business who is a leader that inspires those around them. A visionary leader that has loads of ideas. Everybody in the business is drawn to them. They're optimistic. Sometimes they can be a little bit of hard work because they have high standards, but they are someone who's destined to achieve a very, very high level of success because of how they show up and because of that innate vision that they have inside of them, that they're like a dog with a bone. They will not let it go. They have this vision and they must achieve it. So that is what we're talking about when we talk about magnetic leader, is somebody who is like a magnet. And they lead with this sense of magnetism where they just draw people in. And people want to work for them because they generally create really amazing businesses and have very, very amazing visions that other people want to be a part of. So we're going to unpack inside this episode today the 7 traits of a magnetic leader when it comes to creating a business or a brand that achieves cult-like status. So let's unpack what these 7 traits are and why they're important. Why these traits are important in the context of creating a brand that has this cult-like status. So the first trait is competitiveness. So every magnetic leader, whether they like to admit it or not, they want to win. They are competitive. And this doesn't necessarily mean that they are outwardly competitive with other brands or other people in the market, but they're competitive with themselves. They see themselves as the competition and they have this desire to win and to always get better, and they are hungry for that competitive spirit. So there's definitely an element in their traits where they are competitive and they are there to win. They are ready and excited. So that competitive nature is really helpful in the context of business because it gives them drive. If you think about it, if you're not competitive and you go out to play a team sport, you don't really care if you win or lose, potentially, if you're not competitive. But if you're fiercely competitive, you're there to win. And when you step out on that field, that is what you're aiming to achieve. So that competitive spirit, that competitive nature is actually really helpful in the context of business because it gives them lots of energy and lots of desire to win. They're not out there for no reason. They haven't just started their business for the fun of it. They've started their business because they are committed to achieving their vision and they won't let it go. So that competitiveness is really important. The second trait is top 1%. So there's this top 1% thinking, this top 1% standard. Everything that they do is they're aiming for the top 1%. They don't want to be mediocre. They are high performance people. They demand a certain standard. And that's what makes them great leaders as well, because they're really convicted in what their standards are. And anyone who's worked alongside a magnetic leader that has this top 1% thinking approach, they're actually really good people to work for. And the reason that they're good to work for is because they have such high standards. They're also holding you to those high standards as well. And when you're held to a higher standard, you get better too. And so everybody else around them in the business actually rises to that same standard. And when you think about the best leader that you've ever had, if you think about, it could be a boss that you've had in the past, an employer, it could be a teacher that you've had throughout school, it could have been a lecturer at uni, somebody that you can think of that's shown leadership, potentially even somebody in the context of sports. If you think about the best leadership that you've had, the best leaders are driven by you becoming the best that you can be. And they hold you to a standard. So they don't necessarily tell you that everything that you're doing is amazing if they don't think that. Sure, they will give you feedback and they'll give it in a way that's constructive. They're tough but fair. And that toughness and that fairness is actually what creates you to be the best that you can be and develops your potential. So the top 1% thinking, although it can be frustrating at times to work under this leadership because, sometimes they can be fussy, that fussiness actually helps you to rise to a certain standard as well and meet a certain standard in the business and become better. So this is a very, very powerful trait in a magnetic leader. The third trait is they're relationship driven. So, albeit that they're very particular about how things are done and they've got this top 1% thinking, they're also relationship driven as well. They understand that if you want to go fast, sure, you can go on your own. But if you want to go far, you must go together. And for that reason, they really lean into the relationships that they have with their team, with their customers, their clients, even suppliers, to make sure that people want to work for them. They want to work with them. They want to do the right thing because they have these relationships and the people around them feel valued. Whether they're a supplier or they're a customer, they feel valued. So they really focus on relationships with the people around them and with anybody that's connected to their business because they know the power of having relationships. They know the power of building rapport with people around them and how when you work together as a team, you can go far. But when you focus on doing things selfishly or just on your own, often, sure, you can go faster, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll go far. So they're very, very focused on their relationships. And this is something that continues to help them because a lot of the time, it's not necessarily what you know, but who you know. And so these connections can be really helpful in business when you need to call upon these relationships, when you need a hand or when you might need to negotiate some extra time or some special conditions. These relationships become really important. But most importantly, in the context of team, there is very much a transformational leadership approach. When you have a leader who's relationship driven, you want to do the right thing because you have the relationship with them and it doesn't feel transactional. So this is really powerful when it comes to a magnetic leader and why that's important in the context of business. The fourth trait is what I call the idea factory. Magnetic leaders have a never-ending list of ideas. And they will interrupt you one day and say, I've got an idea. I think we should do this. And everyone in the business goes, oh, no, not another idea. No, no, no. And that is the best part about magnetic leaders because they have this never-ending ability to come up with new ideas. This is amazing because that innovation is what creates a business that succeeds. That ability to innovate and be able to come up with new ideas is literally what makes the business grow. So the idea factory, the visionary thinking of always having these new ideas that they're coming up with is a very, very big trait of a magnetic leader because it really fits into that visionary founder, visionary CEO archetype of being highly intuitive, having lots of ideas. And often when it comes to these ideas, they will have a gut instinct. So it may not make sense in that moment what that idea is, but they'll just have a feeling that that's what needs to be done. We need to do it this way, or this is the idea that I have, or I just have a feeling about this. And being able to lean into that ability and really harness that visionary ideas, but also that visionary nature is really, really powerful in the context of business. So that is an incredible trait of a magnetic leader. The fifth trait is optimism. A visionary leader, a magnetic leader has optimism. So even when things don't seem to be going to plan, the magnetic leader always sees the cup as half full, not half empty. And they will always instill confidence even when things are a little bit challenging. If there's a will, there's a way. And that is the nature of a magnetic leader. Don't let a bad day turn into a bad week, turn into a bad month. These are the types of people that will see positivity. They will see opportunity and they understand that things are temporary and, it might not be great right now, but this is what we need to do. And they'll still show up every day and they'll get the job done. And that then instills confidence in everybody else around them too. Because if your coach, if your leader, if whoever you're looking up to in the context of business, and even if it's not business, it's sport, if you don't have confidence in your leader, if they're lacking confidence in something, it's hard for you to show confidence too, because you're looking to them for that strength. So that optimism is really important in terms of a trait for a magnetic leader because it allows them to instill confidence in the entire team and everybody around them, even when things aren't going to plan. Number 6 is relentless ambition. So with magnetic leaders, they have a very, very stubborn nature. And even when they're told no about something, if they believe that it's the right thing to do, they will push ahead anyway. That is the trait of a magnetic leader, is this relentless ambition, this pursuit, that they're after, and I call it the dog with a bone. They just have something that they want to do, they have something that they believe in, and they won't let the idea go. And this stubborn nature is actually very powerful, because when they have something in their gut that they're compelled to do, when they have a vision or they have an idea and it might butt up against what's possible or it might challenge the status quo, if they really believe in it and they have a gut feeling that it's the right thing to do, they will push ahead with it. And inevitably, it's those ideas, the ones that they're really convicted in, that they have this relentless ambition for, they're the ideas that end up coming off. So this relentless ambition is huge. And I know that I've given examples in the past about Dyson is an example of relentless ambition. The amount of drawings that, the first Dyson vacuum cleaner went through to become what it is today is enormous. There was a huge amount of work that went into that. There's countless examples of other business owners where they've, had so many signs that, possibly they should have given up, or maybe it wasn't going to work, but they continued anyway. And again, Spanx founder is another example of this. She got turned down so many times with that business idea, and now she has $1 billion business. Apple, another example. Steve Jobs actually got fired from Apple. And look at the success that he had in his career thereafter. So there are so many examples where we as business owners might get knocked down, or we might be given a bunch of signs that maybe it's not going to work, but having that relentless ambition, that's the drive to keep going when everything's pointing to failure and this isn't going to work. The relentless ambition is the thing that creates a magnetic leader and allows them to step into their power even when things feel like they're not working. And last but not least, number 7 is they're disciplined. Now, this is really, really important, because the discipline, being consistent in business, is the thing that will help you to succeed. And it's the thing that's overlooked. A lot of business owners, particularly in the startup stages, could be tempted to maybe go into a bit of a disappointment stage. Be in the valley of disappointment, as James Clear would say in Atomic Habits, where they're trying some things, they're doing all the right things, but they're not getting traction yet. And instead of sticking to the plan and being disciplined and being really consistent and focusing on sticking to the plan and executing, they might give up because they lack that discipline and they're prioritizing what they want right now over what they want in the future. With a magnetic leader, they are so hyper-disciplined. They are the hardest working people in the business a lot of the time. They are the ones that are working all day and night at times to get the job done. And there's a huge amount of discipline there. And they do the things that they will say they will do when they say that they'll do them. And while that might feel, very simple or very minor, that is actually one of the key traits of a magnetic leader. In order to create a business that achieves cult-like status, you need that level of discipline to get the business to a stage where you can achieve that level of success. And that's all around your standards and the standards that you hold yourself to as well. So when we think about these 7 traits, so there's the competitive nature, the wanting to win, the top 1% thinking, aiming for the top 1%, being a high performance person, relationship driven, understanding the power of the relationships that we have in business, the idea factory, 1,000,001 ideas, and letting the team decide which ones are the right ones to proceed with. Optimism, showing up and getting up even when things are challenging, having that ability to show optimism and instill confidence in everybody else in the business no matter what. The relentless ambition, the dog with a bone, not letting go of something even when people are telling you it's not going to work. And finally, the discipline, which is doing what you say you'll do when you said that you'll do it. So all of these 7 traits combined create a magnetic leader that's destined to achieve cult-like status, because all of these things work together. And if you contain all of these traits and you really leverage them, this is what will give you the energy, the grit, the tenacity that's required to build a business or build a brand of your dreams that achieves this level of success, that achieves this cult-like status. So I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, learning more about what a magnetic leader is, why it's important in the context of business, and how you can leverage these 7 traits inside your business to achieve the level of success that you're aspiring to achieve. If you like today's episode, I'd love to hear from you. You can always sing out on Instagram at oliviajenkins.co and we can start a chat there. But until next time, have a productive week and I look forward to seeing you soon.